Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. In this video I will give you a complete farming guide for the Servant Summer Camp 2022. Since I'm pretty busy with my exams right now, for this guide I've only focused on the farming part. As usual, I've covered all possible DPS for all the 3 best farming nodes. Regarding the 2 final mixed nodes, I will cover them in a following update that I will post in my channel, since I've already scrapped every bit of free time I had to make this guide. So, if you find this type of farming guides useful, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. That way you will be notified when I'll post the final part of this guide, covering the 2 final mixed nodes. And of course that will greatly help my motivation to keep going with this type of guides. On the matter of my ever so limited free time, just a quick update on future guides. For the following months I will really need to focus on my exams, so future guides may be either skipped or more reasonably just done in a simplified format. Once I have fulfilled my duty, I can return to make the full farming guides like before. Fortunately, you should be covered for the next 3 events. For Oku rerun, you shouldn't really need to farm that much, since clearing the main quest will basically gives you all you need to complete the event. Next, Dance Tournament in the Land of Shadows is a lottery event, so there should be others covering the best farming setups for this event. Same deal with the following new Guda Guda event. It has limited time raids, so again there should be others covering those parts. I really wanted to compile a farming guide for this event, even with my limited free time, since from this point onwards the farming meta will be really different with the addition of Castoria and append skills. I'll cover them in details in a moment, but for now let's just give you a few tips regarding this event. First of all, the event map will change between day and night as you clear main quests. Doing so will change the free quest available, but fortunately the enemy class and layout is the same on both day and night. Regarding the best single currency farming nodes, my setups will work for both day and night, and in case of different requirements for the 2 versions, I will highlight these changes in the guide. For example, some servants may have special damage only on day or night, or require some extra skills or supports in some rooms to loop. In particular, the gold node, as you will see, it's the only one that will really change between night and day, so I have basically covered the 2 versions separately. Just be sure to check the information displayed correctly to understand which setups work with which version. You may be tempted to farm only one version of each free quest, since there is always one that is easier, but for mission completion you'll need to farm both day and night quest. In any case, when you reach the epilogue, you'll be able to freely switch between night and day, so you'll be able to clear all the remaining missions. Next, regarding the event limited seas, the spawn bonus C Chains of the Dead is the one that you will see the most in my farming compositions, since it's a 30% start EMP charge CE that will increase the spawn rate of the rare enemies in each free quest by 15% for each copy. For mission completion you'll need to defeat these rare enemies. Furthermore, those enemies will always drop QPs up to a maximum of half a million QPs. You will get 4 copies from event missions, so to maximum break it you'll need to get a 5th copy as a free quest drop while farming. In any case, since you'll want to maximize the spawn bonus while farming, don't maximum break it until the end of the event, or at least until you have finished all the missions regarding the rare enemies. For these reasons I will only use a base spawn bonus C in my farming compositions, showing a maximum broken one only if that specific DPS can only use a 50% start EMP charge C with no better alternatives. Regarding the damage bonus see Hide Hunter, you will get 4 copies from the event shop, and in this case if you get an extra drop while farming, you can safely maximum break it. For the 3 best single currency nodes, you will only see this C a few times on Arash or Paracelsius, and it will always be a base C, so don't worry about maximum breaking it. Moving on with the gacha seeds, both 4 stars Happy Drive and Climbing Battle will be featured in the following setups. For the best silver node, same deal with the 5-star Innocent Blue for the best single currency gold node. Regarding the 5-star Honey Lake, this is one of the best CE for solo servants. It's basically an origin bullet CE that works on any debuffable enemy. In fact, thanks to the common code update, you can now freely switch around the common codes, slotting in the ones that inflict burn to get that juicy 35% special damage bonus on both your face cards and your NP. Outside of soloing, however, its efficiency will decrease, since in a team face card RNG can screw you over, and now that NP looping is even more doable with double Castoria, Black Grail remain the top choice for damage. If you want Honey Lake, I recommend rolling on the first banner, the Chiara one, since it's on a single rate up there. Just remember that its rate is still lower than a 4-star servant, so if you want 5 copies to maximum break it, you will need to spend a lot of cores on that banner. Of course, if you already planned to roll on Chiara, that's a plus. To conclude this tips section, as usual, the 2 final mixed nodes are the ones with the best drop rates, and as I said previously, I will cover them in a following video. I couldn't find the drop rates anywhere on the web, so no mathematical analysis this time, sorry guys, but given our experience so far, we can safely say that the general rule for mixed node is still valid, meaning the 3 single currency nodes are better than mixed node only if you have very high single currency drop bonus, in other words, a lot of C of one kind. Aside from event currencies, you may also want to farm mixed node for materials, since usually these final nodes have better drop rates for materials, as we have seen with all the recent level 90 plus farming nodes. The final mixed node is also a better place to farm bonds, in particular if you can run a setup that uses an event bonus servants, to get the most out of the event bond bonus. Before giving you the actual farming composition, I want to briefly talk about append skills and Castoria. With their addition to the game, the number of different possible farming compositions have dramatically increased, so I've decided to make some changes regarding the layout of the presentation for the farming compositions. As usual, I will cover all possible DPS for each farming node, starting this time from Ars DPS, since they are the new meta, then Quick DPS, followed by Buster DPS, and finally free-to-player compositions. As always, for each card type I will rank the different setups and list them in order from best to worst. However, this time I will group together different servants in the same ranking category, with setups similar for each one of them, giving you a detailed step-by-step guide for skill usage, tips and damage threshold, usually only to the best DPS in that specific group. I will also usually give you 2 different detailed setups, one with mana loading and one without mana loading. Of course, only if mana loading makes a difference in support, CE or skill usage. To help you identify the rank of each group, I have named them in order best, good, bad and worst. This doesn't mean that the last group of setups is very bad compared to the first one. Far from it. Sometimes the last group have higher damage than the first group. It's purely a matter of how I rank the different setups, which I will remind you in a minute. I could have named them 1, 2, 3, 4, for example. but there are already a lot of numbers on the screen, so I opted for this method in order to avoid unnecessary confusion. Regarding specific card types, both Arts and Quick Setup also have a universal rank group, meaning a setup that works with any DPS of that card type. Additionally, Quick Setups also have a cheap rank group that use Paracelsius and the damage bonus CE. And finally, for Buster Setups, I've also added an additional damage rank for each group, ranging from 0 to 5. Since, as you will see, there will be a lot more Buster Setup with Mana Loading, so I wanted to help you keep track of the total damage buffs that support servants can give in a specific group of setups. Now a reminder of how I rank the different farming setups with the addition of Mana Loading and Castoria. As usual, event bonus come first. Setups with the highest total drop bonus will be favored regardless of cost and damage, and in that cost I now include Mana Loading. After the event drop bonus, I will evaluate the party cost. In order, I will look first to CE with lower MP charge and free CE. Then I will look at the pen skill requirement. I will rank higher setups that don't require Mana Loading. And finally, I will look at the servant rarity in the party and if they are either limited or permanent. Since now Arts setup are way better than before, with Castoria easily enabling 6-slot farming setups, I've added an additional layer to the party cost for Arts composition. In order, I will start with setups that require only one Castoria, then setup with double Castoria but no Mystic Code requirements. Finally, setups that require double Castoria with a specific Mystic Code or order change with extra support. As I said previously, I will present the different setups divided in ranked group. So, for each DPS in the same rank, I will order them from the highest damage to the lowest damage. Regarding the impact of append skills on the farming compositions, I have touched upon this matter in my previous video, giving you the reason you might not be able to use Mana Loading, for example not summoning enough on the gacha for 3-star or lower, having MP1 of your 4-star DPS, or depending on a welfare DPS, wanting to reach level 120 with your 5-star DPS, not having materials available to unlock level 10 Mana Loading. Fortunately, this last problem seems to be solved for most of the DPS with the addition of Pure Prism and the new materials that they can be exchanged with. However, some unfortunate servants will still need some materials that are yet to be released. And finally, of course, lore shortage, given that append skills were released 1 year earlier. However, as you will see next, Mana Loading greatly increased the number of possible farming composition. Just to name a few examples from my last video, it can supplement the lack of a specific CE, enabling looping setups for servants and or nodes with slightly low refund, or of course just give you raw MP charge, for example for the new level 90 plus nodes, with which the Lightworks tried to kill looping setups. So how big is the impact for each card type? Well, as you will see, Arts DPS benefit the least in my opinion, since their main focus is refunding 100% MP charge or close to it, so they don't really need the starting 20% MP charge. There may be cases where you want to save one of Castoria MP charges, but overall the impact in my opinion is way less than the other two card types. Quick DPS will instead benefit more from Mana Loading, since they have way less freedom than Arts setups regarding the choice of supports, and Skadi has way less versatility than other support for the MP charge, since she can only give you 50% MP charge in one block. This, together with the fact that quick DPS usually need raw MP charge to loop, makes Mana Loading a very useful addition for quick looping setups. So don't worry, quick meta is not dead yet. If you haven't managed to summon your own Castoria, you will still be able to use your quick setups, and they will be improved by Mana Loading. Finally, as you should have guessed, Buster setups get the most out of Mana Loading. For Buster looping, raw MP charge is king, and having a starting 20% MP charge will greatly, and I mean greatly, increase the number of buster setups. You will see how many in the following section. To conclude my rambling, before leaving you to the actual farming composition, let's talk about Castoria. Let's start with her impact on the arts farming setups. But don't be fooled, she also improved all other farming setups, quick, buster and free-to-player. However, for these last ones her usage is very simple, while with the plethora of art supports I want to make sure that you understand how to use her, or more importantly how you can supplement her and how you can substitute her if you didn't manage to get your own Castoria. First of all, a little quiz regarding the state of arts farming before the release of Castoria. Which servant offered the best MP gain or MP refund? The answer is Paracelsus, of course. That's why I suggested my viewers to leveling up many times. Next, which servant is the best MP charger? Of course, it's Weaver. In fact, even if Reynes now have a 50% MP charge that can be divided into multiple turns just like Weaver, she is still lacking in the AoE MP charge department, since old arts farming team usually required Paracelsus MP in room 1. So Weaver AoE 20% MP charge could let you use an extra event C on Paracelsus. Append skills on Paracelsus mainly solve this problem, but still Weaver can charge him and buff him, while Reynes can only give him the charge. And we all know that Paracelsus damage is trash, especially on neutral targets. Next, which servant offered the highest damage buffs? The answer is Tamamo. Of the old notable arts looping supports, only Brides is left. She didn't excel in either of these three categories, but she was still the top choice in some niche situation, mainly for servants with very good base MP refund and their own MP charge. So, how does Castoria compare with these three? Regarding MP gain, she has Paracelsus beaten. In fact, she is equivalent to Paracelsus equipped with his Bond C. Next, regarding raw MP charge, she seemed to draw with Weaver. She can charge 50% on a single target and she can divide her MP charges between multiple turns. However, she flat out beats Weaver on the AoE charge department, giving 30% AoE MP charge against his 20%. So, with 2 victims already, how does Tamamo fare? Thankfully, Tamamo is still the best damage buffer for Arts team, at least if we look at Castoria skills alone. In fact, if we consider Castoria MP, she also beat Tamamo in the damage department, and using at least one Castoria MP while farming is really not that difficult. Double Castoria setups will surely charge one Castoria MP charge to 60% by turn 3. If we add the level 10 Mana Loading, that's 80% MP charge right there. That means with a single art chain in turn 1 or turn 2, you will have Castoria MP ready for turn 3. Aside the extra attack buff, this also increases the NP overcharge for your DPS, increasing its damage in room 3 for those DPS with good overcharge effects. Hello Ishtar! However, my fellow Foxtail lovers, not all is lost, since Tamamo is still the best third support option for order change compositions. As you will see in the following section, double Castoria is all you need to enable looping for most art DPS. That means you will only need damage buffs from a third support, which led us to Tamamo. Furthermore, some arts looping DPS with very high NP refund will only need one Castoria to loop, meaning Tamamo is the best choice as a second support without order change. For example, in this event you will see Mordred and Da Vinci Lily. So the answer to the question how broken is Castoria is extremely broken. By herself she beats the 3 old best supports for NP gain, NP charge and damage if we also consider RMP as I said before. However, being so broken means that you will benefit a lot even from a single Castoria. That's why I've gone out of my way to give you these comparisons with the old best arts looping supports. Since, as I said previously, almost all arts looping setup work with double Castoria only, the most simple way you can modify those setups without your own Castoria is by bringing your own Waver and Paracelsius. Those two together basically gives the same NP charge and NP gain for looping. Only the damage is a little lower, so it can be a problem if the DPS require a certain amount of overkill in order to refund. But if you have a high MP level for that DPS, that usually solves the problem. I can't cover all possible combination of art supports for obvious reasons, but hopefully this little analysis will help you craft your own farming team, if you'll need to modify my farming compositions. Finally, let's talk about the impact of Castoria on the other card types. For quick looping setups, she is now the best order change support, beating Reynes and Waver, since aside the 50% MP charge, she also offers that 30% NP gain buff, which will make the difference for some quick DPS. Regarding Bastard setups, again she beats Waver and Reynes as a second support choice after Merlin. In fact, for Bastard setup to use a lot of event seeds, you will usually need a Rush or Gong. Thanks to Castoria's superior AoE NP charge and the addition of Mana Loading, you will be able to use event seeds even on a Rush and Gong. Finally, for the same reason, she will also be the best free-to-player support option. Raw NP charge is the first requirement for free-to-player setups, and as I just said, she provides the most to the entire team. I will now leave you to the actual farming compositions. As always, if you find this type of content useful, please support me by leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. I'm basically scraping every bit of free time I have to make these guides, and they only keep getting longer, while my free time for the rest of this year keeps shrinking, as I said at the beginning. So really, every bit of support you can give me is very much appreciated. And of course, by subscribing you won't miss the second part of this guide, covering the 2 final mixed node, for which I need a few more days of time. Anyway, that's all for today guys, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Probably a few months away until the next complete farming guide, but I will try my best to give you some farming setups for the following events, if my exams will let me. Until then, I wish you luck on your waifu rolls. Bye bye.
Bye.